Hey everyone, welcome back to the Palm Beach Road Racing Classic. This is race 3. Here's the racetrack. We are rolling off of pit lane onto the formation lap. And as I said in the second race video, a lot of the guys I was racing against went home. So there's only one other Formula 4 that you can see right in front of me. There's a few Formula Vs behind me. And you can see a couple other cars up in front. They combined my group with another group that was in the previous races was racing separately. So there are more cars on the track, but most of them, or all of the cars in front of me are a lot faster. So at the start of the race, they're just going to take off, and we won't see them again. The cars behind me, the Formula Vs, they're going to, just like the second race, they're not going to cause any problems. And so you guys can watch the video and watch me struggle to find interesting things to talk about. As you can see, I'm weaving back and forth to put heat in the tires or clean them off. I've heard a lot of people say various things. A lot of people have said that weaving back and forth doesn't really heat up the tires. I've heard people say that you have to do it. I've heard people say that, it's not really to heat up the tires, it's more to clean them off. And then, other people say that, well, if you're weaving back and forth, you're going offline and you're picking up marbles. And so there's a lot of conflicting, competing ideas. And smart people have told me all sides of them. So it's not like, people that know what they're talking about are saying this and other people are saying that. I think that really nobody really knows. So I was doing it. It doesn't really hurt as we start forming up for the race lap. And you can see that the camera was getting covered with dirt. I wasn't really aware of it as it was happening. And we weren't very well equipped with glass cleaner in our paddock spot anyways. But I've fixed it for the next race. I cleaned off the camera, so it won't be an issue anymore. There's the start. An interesting thing to note, you can see that red car in front and the white car that I just passed. If you look at another video that I made last year, the F2000 Championship Series, those are the cars that I raced in that video. They're the same chassis, but they've got wings and a slightly bigger engine. And I think they've got bigger tires as well, at least in the Pro Series, I think they do. Of course, when you're at this level, you have some beginner racers, some people that just don't really know what they're doing. So or that, maybe their cars aren't professionally prepared so that they're not as fast as they could be, or that they theoretically are. So that's why some of these cars that should be faster are actually a bit slower, or a lot slower in some cases, that the drivers aren't, they're not highly experienced drivers, they're not professionals. They're just, people that want to have some fun on the weekends. So we just got a face full of dirt. It makes it a little bit harder to see as well. We're actually having kind of an interesting battle with this. It's a Formula Continental, also known as Formula 2000, and then that sports car racer up ahead. I'm not actually sure what class it is. I think it's a P1, which is obviously different than the LMP1 that any sports car racing fans are familiar with. But it should be much faster than our car. It's got much more aggressive aerodynamics. It's probably got a much more powerful engine. It should be checking out. It gets a little sideways. I think there's a good chance that was a brand new driver. Which is fine. I mean, these SCCA regionals are a really good place if you're new to racing. I mean, this is where you go when you're starting out. So having new drivers is something that you should expect, and it's great. And the more people that get involved with this stuff, the better. I keep checking my mirror, I think, because I know that guy should be faster. So I was just checking to make sure that he wasn't coming up on me. Later on in the race, because we do have these faster cars, and there was there was an Atlantics car and a Pro Mazda car, which are much, much faster than my car. So throughout the race, I'm keeping an eye on the mirrors. They might have gone home. I think they did. They didn't start this race. But I didn't actually know that because I couldn't see that far down the road. So I'm keeping an eye on the mirrors the whole race because they would only take them 2 or 3 laps to come up behind us. So if you see me glancing to the right and left, especially on that back straightaway to my right side mirror, then that's what I'm doing. I'm looking out for those guys that are coming up behind me. And with the race that's going on with this guy in front of me, it's pretty much the same story as the other 2 races. It seems pretty clear that I'm faster than him, but once we get onto this back straightaway, which is kind of the only place to pass, I just don't have the engine, the horsepower to get past him. Even the draft isn't really strong enough for me to get close enough to make a move. Pretty much the only thing that I can hope to do is that I spook him, and that having me in his mirrors makes him nervous enough to force him into a mistake, which I think is what happened in the second race. The guy in the silver car in front of me, he was making mistakes now and then, and one of them finally cost him, and I was able to get past him just because he ended his race in the wall. So I'm trying to get right up on him and trying to get back to power sooner so that I carry momentum all the way from the apex down the straightaway, and I have better momentum than him, but I'm not quite able to do that, and then just because of the gearing, looks like I'm actually kind of gaining on him. I think I pulled out too soon here. Maybe we're getting close. I was running out of straightaway, so this is another part where I could have possibly forced the issue, but it looks like I almost got around him. In a pro race, I might have been more aggressive and forced the issue a bit more, but we both want to go home at the end of the day, so it's not worth causing any problems, especially since it's just him and me in our class. And another thing that I should mention is that this car is beating the snot out of me over the weekend. We had to, I think I might have mentioned before, that I had to take the seat out that we had molded to my back because it was lifting me up too much. So my shoulders were scrunched, and even more importantly, I wasn't able to manipulate the gear lever in the way that I'm supposed to. So I wasn't able to shift from third down into second, which brings the gear lever closer to my leg. So we had to take that out. And I'm basically sitting on the aluminum floor of the car. We got some padding so that because I have kind of a big tailbone, and putting all my weight on it hurts a lot. So we put some padding on the bottom, and my hips are getting wedged into the rails of the chassis, and my shoulders, my elbows were getting beat up pretty bad too. But I put some elbow pads on that solved that problem. But especially there's so many long right-hand corners on this track that I'm constantly getting pushed into the right side of the car, and my hips are getting wedged into the chassis rails, and then on these left or these right-hand corners, I'm getting pushed into that chassis rail even more. So over all the track time that we've had over the course of the weekend, it's caused some bruising that at this point, the last session of the weekend, it's getting kind of painful, and it would definitely be affecting my performance. As I think we came up on some of the Formula V's, it's getting kind of hard to see with all the fuzziness and fogginess of the camera lens. See, if you look at the RPMs on that lap, I only got up to about 6,300 RPM, and the red line is 6,700 RPM. So we were down substantially on what we should be, which is what I've been saying all throughout the course of the last couple races, that the gearing is wrong. So we should be hitting 6,700 just as we get to the end of the straightaway in fourth gear, and I'm not very good at mental math, but 300-400 RPM down is we're sacrificing a lot of power, and that's what's causing the problems. Even though I'm faster through the corners than this guy, and I might be faster getting onto the straightaway, I just don't have the horsepower at the end of the straightaway to use the draft to get around him, and that's because the fourth gear is wrong. So next time we go to a racetrack, we have to make sure that we get the gear ratios right. We've got two big briefcases full of gear stacks, or full of sprockets and spare parts for the gearbox. So we've got the equipment. It's just a matter of putting the right stuff in the car for the right track. This race is 10 laps long. As I mentioned before, the timing beacon that separates laps was acting up all weekend. So it says lap 10 on the display there, but that's not entirely reliable. So it might be lap 7 or 8. 7 to 10, I think, is the best bet for right now. And with the camera the way it is, it's kind of hard to see the flagman. So have to sort of listen to how I go into the chicane. If it looks like I'm going really slow, then that means the race is over. But this might be a good chance to let you guys know what I'm sort of thinking going forward from this video. I want to do the F1600 Championship Series next season, which is the Pro Series, and to do that, there's going to have to be a couple of significant things that we have to do to the car. We have to rebuild the gearbox, which probably has to be done anyways, and that's a fairly expensive endeavor. Everything with the gearbox is really expensive because it's extremely hardened metal, and just everything about it is expensive. So we have to rebuild the gearbox. We have to, we might have to get the engine blueprinted, which apparently only adds 3 to 5 horsepower, but everybody in the Pro Series has a blueprinted motor. So if we don't have it, we're just, we're leaving stuff on the table that we're giving everyone on a disadvantage. So that's something that we're going to have to do. And another thing that I think we need to do is to rebuild the shocks. So, blueprinting the engine is giving us power down the straightaway, and then blueprinting the shock absorbers is like giving horsepower to the handling through the corners. It's going to help us carry more speed through the corners. And that's something I've been talking with a suspension guy about, making a video about that. So I think that'll be something that we can do maybe in January or something, and make a video about, you know, what exactly is rebuilding and blueprinting shock absorbers. You know, why do we do it? How do they do it? How does it affect performance of the car? Where do we go from having the shock absorbers how they are now, which is how I bought them 4 years ago? You know, who knows what's been done with them? How do we optimize them and get them into, you know, their best shape possible? And I'd like to make a video on blueprinting, because they take the car, they take the engine off the car, they completely disassemble it, and that's pretty much all I know about the process. I think, you know, the name blueprinting implies that they measure everything and they make sure everything fits as perfectly as possible, and the parts that they don't, they remachine it so that it does. But I'm not really sure. So whenever I get to the point where I'm talking to the engine builders about that, I'll ask them and see if we can film and show you guys what they do. And the gearbox, I want to make a video about the gearbox, because it's such an interesting, intricate part of the car, and it's something that we're going to take apart a lot, because every time we go to a new racetrack we have to put new gears in. So disassembling it and reassembling it is something that I'm going to be doing a lot over the course of the year, and I want to show you guys what that's about. So those are the three things off the track that I want to show you guys. Since my background is in racing, not in filming or editing or filmmaking, I've recruited a couple people to help out with that. So hopefully I'm not sure who I was waving to there. I think that might have been the end of the race. Yep, sounds like it. So hopefully when we do those videos, they will look a lot better than what I've been able to do myself, which is pretty much, even if this Smarty Cam weren't completely automatic, I probably would have found a way to screw these videos up too. But so we've got, you know, I'll have some professional help, and those videos will probably hopefully be interesting, hopefully be entertaining, and hopefully have a polished professional look to them. And beyond that, I think December might be a fairly quiet month, but looking into the next year, I think in January there's a couple races in Florida that I might go to, both here at Palm Beach, and there's a Masters, I think, at Homestead that I'd like to go to. I'm not sure if I'll be able to, but it's definitely on my radar and definitely things that I'm considering doing. Yeah, through January and February, I might take a couple trips down. I just have to keep my eye on what's going on. So I think that'll do it for this race and for this weekend. Thanks guys for watching, and thanks a lot for all the comments that you've been leaving. It's been really encouraging. This is sort of the very beginning of this channel, and I'm still feeling out and about my own abilities with the filmmaking, and you know, just like the car, you know, we start at a certain point, and then from there we figure out, you know, how do we make it a little bit better? How do we make it a little bit better with both the car and with this channel? So I've got a lot of ideas that I'd like to put into motion, and with you guys' feedback and your support, hopefully we'll make them happen. And thanks again for watching. Stay tuned, guys, and I'll see you all later.